Thanks for tuning in. Hello, I'm an Atheist here, and I think my headset is working. I've been asked to use it because it seems that using the laptop microphone hasn't been terribly clear, and some of my subscribers who've been listening, whose first language is not English, have had trouble hearing me. So hopefully, when we've got somebody on board, they will confirm whether or not I'm actually coming through loud and clear. I believe that I am, so I'll continue to talk and obviously hope that I'm coming through loud and clear in a very comprehensible way. So I've got quite a few topics to discuss. Obviously, if you're not listening to the live stream, then well, maybe next time you'll try. Then you can take part in the live chat, and you might find that interesting because obviously comments come in and people respond to what I'm saying. So in the last few weeks, I've said on a few occasions that I'm not going to be doing too many more Matt videos. I've actually done an about turn on that, and in fact, in the last week, I made four videos of my reaction videos to Matt on the line. So last week I watched one of his shows, and I thought actually so many of the calls were productive and quite good that I decided to actually make videos on the calls. I've uploaded 3 of them, and they seem to be doing fairly well. Got plenty of reaction to them, so there will be more Matt videos. I know I said I wasn't going to do them. I was getting a bit fed up doing videos and reacting to Matt, but well, I've watched the line, I've watched the Atheist Experience, and the other hosts, as good as they are, for some reason just don't really interest me as much as when Matt is actually dealing with these phone calls. There seems to be more happening, and I've noticed that the other hosts tend to allow calls to go on a lot longer than they probably should do. So consequently, I don't really feel that motivated to make reaction videos. For example, today I watched Jimmy Snow and Eve's Been Framed. Somehow I just could not muster up the desire to make a reaction video on any of the calls. I don't know, something about the way Matt deals with things, I suppose his personality, and I mean, he's a mixed bag really, but things are never really dull when Matt's on. So I guess that if he wasn't on the line, then I probably wouldn't be doing any reaction videos at all. But while he's still going, I'll be taking advantage of that. And really, he's only mid-50s, I think. So I guess that he will be going for years and years to come, obviously, assuming that he continues to live. And that's a good thing for my channel as well. So in the meantime, let me just give a brief overview on what I'm going to talk about in this live stream. So first of all, I'm going to talk about what does an atheist do when one has what might be described as something that somebody who's into religion and into the supernatural might interpret as a real, true paranormal experience. So I've had an experience recently, which I know that somebody who's already convinced that the paranormal is real might well think, oh yes, this is more confirmation that the paranormal is actually real, psychic phenomena are real, and there's a special kind of intuition. One can have second sight, one can have premonitions. So I've had an experience which, if I wasn't a skeptic and if I wasn't an atheist, I might think, this is some kind of confirmation that there's more to the material world. There's more than just the material world, that human beings have got some kind of psychic abilities. I don't believe that's the case. I still don't believe that's the case, even though I've had 1 or 2 experiences. And I'll talk about an experience which I've had recently in a moment, but let me just continue doing a quick overview. So we've got Daniel in the chat. Hi, Daniel. Okay, so I'm going to be just briefly talking about some of the calls that I've made reaction videos on, 3 of those. I'm going to be talking about a video that Alex O'Connor took part in on how people are searching for the meaning of life now that religion seems to be on a retreat, how people are dealing with this apparent lack of meaning in their lives. So I'm going to be reacting to some of the comments that were made in that video, plus of course my own thoughts. For what they're worth, I'm going to be talking about some comments that have been left on my channel, and I've printed out an exchange that I had with somebody. So we've got that to look forward to. I'm going to be talking about an experience which I had at church. So as I've said before on my channel, I'm romantically seeing a Christian woman, and I go to church every week with her, and something really bizarre happened actually at church on Sunday. I'll explain what happened fairly shortly. Nothing too out of the ordinary, but you might find it interesting. What else am I going to talk about? I better get around to talking about it, otherwise this live stream is going to be over. Let me see. Oh yeah, I'm going to be talking about trends in negativity, which I'm noticing in a lot of YouTubers. There's a big market in negativity, and there are some YouTubers who I've been following and watching. And although I suppose this isn't directly related to religion, it's kind of, I suppose that it fits in the general theme of finding meaning in life. And it interests me that people are finding meaning in general negativity. I find that interesting, and I can kind of relate to it. Let's have a look. Okay. Oh, yes. And my appeal was rejected. So I made a video a few weeks ago discussing a call that had come into Matt on a fairly controversial issue. Unfortunately, certain keywords were picked up by YouTube. And even though personally I did not contribute to any misinformation on medical issues as such, because I covered this call and maybe repeated some of the claims, and even though I disagreed with the claims, YouTube kind of gave me a strike. And then when I appealed, they rejected my appeal. Okay, fair enough. So I've got to be very careful about some of the vocabulary which I use, because I don't want to be picked up on any of these controversial issues, because I think my appeal rejection was probably done by somebody who couldn't be bothered to watch through the live stream. And it's just a warning which will stay on my account for I think 6 months and then disappear. So yeah, I've got to be careful with that. Okay, well, let me just start off by, I don't know, I suppose I'll start off describing what happened at church. Okay, this is a bizarre thing, because I mean, how many atheists out there go to church? I mean, how many go to church on a regular basis like I do? And I've taken a lot from it, because as I'm somebody who is criticizing Christianity a lot and wants to understand Christians, why they believe, what they get out of it, it's actually been quite a useful thing for me to go to church. Okay, it's an hour of my time, and then half an hour after the service, there's a sort of coffee get together, which can be interesting depending on who I talk to. So this Sunday, this is the really strange thing, is that my partner, she has a 9-year-old daughter, and she could not be at church on Sunday because she was going to meet some friends and it was important to her. She asked me to look after her daughter for the day. And as part of that, this is the bizarre thing, she asked me to take her to church so that she could go to Sunday school. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose that is a bit strange. Now, yeah, so the way that it works with Sunday school, and some of you will be aware of this, particularly those of you who are ex-Christians, but this particular church, you go in with the children into the main church, and there's a hymn, and then after the hymn, the children are asked to come to the front. And then there's some silly, I don't know. I mean, typically the minister will have a carrier bag and he'll pick something out of it and he will make a theological point, but he'll put it in terms that, seems like fun to children. So, and then the children will sort of take part and and then there'll be some silly song at the end of it. And there was indeed a silly song at the end of this activity geared up to children. And well, it was just uh, all a bit embarrassing, quite frankly. So after this, the children then depart and go off to Sunday school because you can't expect children to sit through an hour of hymns, prayers, etc., etc. They'll get fed up. Off they went, and then I was standing like a fool. I'd taken my place near the front of the church, and I suddenly realized, oh, damn it. Why didn't I sit in the middle? And then when a hymn is being sung, I could just sneak out. But because I'd sat at the front, I thought I'm going to I'll end up having to watch the whole service because I'll be too conspicuous in just simply walking out in front of in front of everybody. I don't want to blow my cover too much because um, people will be wondering why I walked out when the service had just started, because it was a lovely day and I thought instead of sitting listening to this nonsense, I could be out walking along the river, enjoying nature, etc., etc. Yeah. So, but on the other hand, I thought, well, wait a minute. This is part of my research, and there might just be something interesting in the sermon that I can build into my atheist channel. And unfortunately, there was nothing of interest in the sermon. To be truthful with you, I can't understand what this. I can't not understand. I can't remember what the sermon was about, sadly. And that probably means that there was nothing much of interest in it. Okay. So what happened was finally the service came to an end and I went to join with the congregation in the church hall, having coffee, biscuits, what have you. And I took a seat. My partner's daughter was playing games with the other children in another room. And I just left her to it and I just sat down on my own. And actually, most of the people there obviously are old. They're like sort of 70, 80 years old. I'm actually one of the young ones there, and I'm nearly 60. So a young couple sat opposite me. They said, "Oh, are these places taken?" I said, "No, not at all." They're like in the mid 20s, and so I presumed immediately, here are two young Christians. Then the minister suddenly appeared and said to them, "Oh, I'll be with you in 20 minutes. I've just got some business to attend to." And he put a folder down and he said, "I'll get back to you later and talk about the wedding." And I said, "Oh, are you two getting married?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Oh, that's nice, etc." And a conversation ensued. I found out that they were actually quite bright, the two of them. And we were talking basically about technology, artificial intelligence, and where it's all going. And I made the comment that I believed that in about maybe in 300 years or less, we would have um, we would have like androids, or we would have artificial intelligence and technology that could almost perfectly replicate human beings. And just like in Blade Runner, the film, it would be virtually impossible to tell real people, real biological people, from engineered people. And I said that in a way, I'm glad I'm not going to be around to see those times. But on the other hand, it would be interesting to see how it all unfolds. And then the young man asked me, um, if I could live that long, would I would would I go for that opportunity? If I could somehow live, say, 300 more years, would I take that possibility? And I said, actually, I said, yes, I would take that possibility if I could maintain my health, and if I could continue in my life as I am now, with my mental faculties, with my body and my general health, and I could live healthily for 300, 400 more years, I said I would gladly take that possibility because I enjoy life. And what I enjoy, everything I enjoy about life is on this planet. And yes, I would take that chance. And they both said, well, we wouldn't. And I said to them, well, I know why you wouldn't. I said, because you believe in life after death and I don't. And because I don't believe in life after death, obviously I would want to live as long as possible. And I realized then that I'd kind of blown my cover because what am I doing there in church service? And then, after that with the coffee morning, saying that I don't believe in life after death. It's obvious that I'm not a Christian. Nevertheless, they did find that interesting, but they didn't debate with me. They just nodded when I said, "Well, you believe in life after death." So obviously, you would not take that possibility because of your religion, which teaches you that you will be in heaven in eternal bliss. And that's the point. Yes, me as an atheist, somebody who doesn't believe in life after death, of course, I would like to live several hundred years if I could maintain my health and just keep going. But I did say to them that this is on the proviso that I could end my life at any time. So, for example, if I got completely fed up or reality was just so horrible, I didn't want to look at it anymore, then I could easily just jump off a cliff and end my own life. Obviously, that would be the case. So, yeah, I also asked them because they're like 25 years old. I said to them, "Do you remember a time when there was? Do you remember a time when there was no internet, no mobile phones, etc., etc.?" And they said no, but they remember a time when mobile phones were relatively primitive compared with what they are now. Of course, because if they're in their mid 20s, that would take them back to say 97, 98 when they were born, and then they were probably 5, 6 years old when they've got memories. And we're talking about 2003, 2004, when I suppose mobile phones were relatively still quite primitive. I think the iPhone appeared somewhere around about then, but by and large, mobile phones in those days, all you could do with them was make telephone calls and send text messages. So they could remember those times, but they could never remember a time when there wasn't the internet. So I had a bit of a talk about that and just describe to them what it was like to live in times when there was no internet, how one had to actually go out and buy records to listen to music and or wait for the radio to play um, the latest hits of favorite bands and all that kind of thing. The news, how one read newspapers and had to watch the news at 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and how news wasn't on tap. Okay, so I had quite an interesting conversation with them, and then the minister came back to talk about the wedding. I excused myself and exchanged names with them, and I may well see them again. They may well remember that I said I don't believe in life after death, and who knows, I might have another conversation with them. But there's another thing I would like to say. When I was listening to the sermon, okay, I don't remember what the sermon was about, but one thing occurred to me about the minister. I've got his email address, and I thought it would be quite an interesting thing. I thought it would be quite an interesting thing to send him an email, to send him a question. Now, you guys, I'm going to put this out on my community board, but I'm going to send a question to this minister of the Christian faith. He's about my age. He's 60-ish. He's married, and he's been doing this for about, I don't know, 30 years or so. I class him as quite a smug kind of um, self-confident Christian. And I would like to put one question to him. What would that question be? So I'm going to put this out on my community board. What question shall I put to this minister? One question, something that will make him think, some question that will make him realize he's dealing with somebody who's considered apologetics, counter apologetics, a really challenging question that will make him think about his faith. So, what do you think? Let me know because I'm going to send a question to him within the next week, and from an anonymous email. and it will be interesting. He might say something about it during the service. Okay. Okay, Lee Jam says a smug Christian minister. Actually, who would have thunk it? Yeah. Um, they're not all actually smug. Some of them are actually there's another guy there who hasn't got the same level of smugness to him. So some are smugger than others. And the other minister there, he's kind of admitted that the whole of Christianity could just be one big fairy story. And do you have any faith that it's true or not? He's actually a bit more sort of open to the possibility that he might be wrong. But the other guy, the one I want to send the question to, looks a little bit too sure of himself. I would like to pose a question to him that one single question could actually. I doubt if it will challenge his faith, but something that will be difficult for him to answer. I've got one or two ideas about what to ask him, but I'd like to hear. I'm going to put this out to the board. I've got some really sharp people among my subscribers, and I think that we could get a question to put to him, and then depending on his response, I might well follow up and report on this channel. Okay, so I'll move on from there. Yeah. Okay, so next, let me talk about this. Let me talk about this experience I had that if somebody else had it, somebody who believes in sort of New Age mysticism or mystical things and Mystic Meg and all that kind of thing, they might think, oh, this was me having a, second sight, a premonition, and that's yet more evidence that there's something more to human beings than meets the eye. So here's the premonition, or rather, here's the experience that I had. Well, it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of quite difficult to talk about because it involved a mishap. But I'm also going to relate it to one of the calls that came in last week. Somebody called Matt last week and talked about why Christianity is true. And the reason he said Christianity is true is that there's a proverb, and the proverb is as follows. So from the book of Proverbs, it's chapter 27, verse 12. I'm just going to read it out. I've written it down here. A prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself. The simple pass on and are punished. Okay, well, the prudent man foreseeth evil. So if you're wise, you try to foresee danger or say misfortune. You can interpret evil in different ways, I suppose, in this case, but we can interpret evil as meaning something which is basically amounts to misfortune, a negative event. How to avoid negative events, how to avoid hazards, essentially. Yeah, the simple pass on and are punished. So, okay, well, something happened to me which I suppose that I should have seen this coming. I should have seen it coming. I kind of did see it coming, and in fact, I had a kind of I had thoughts that this thing was going to happen on the day that it happened. Okay, so here's what happened. So this Christian lady that I'm dating, I've been seeing her now since last October. So we've been together, nearly a year. Now, how can I put this? She drives a car, so do I. I'm a better driver than she is. Actually, I think I'm quite a good driver. I'm a very cautious, defensive driver. I drive from A to B, trying to negotiate my way from A to B, not to get there fast, but to get there in one piece and to avoid getting into an accident with any other vehicle. I'm a defensive driver. I drive very carefully. When I reverse very slowly and very carefully, and I try not to make any mistakes whatsoever. I've driven about 1 million miles in my life, and I've never had an accident on the road. So I consider myself to be a very good driver. Okay. And as for my partner, I've been out in her car when she's driving, and I don't think she's such a good driver as I am. For my liking, She drives a bit too fast. She tends to brake a bit too heavily at the roundabout, coming up to a junction. She slows down all of a sudden rather than. So there are certain things about the way that she drives that I don't like. And the whole point of this is that I go to stay with her at weekends. So in my flat, I've got my flat here. Um, I spend the week here more or less in my own flat, in my own space. And then at the weekend, I go to spend it with her. I go on Friday night and I come back Monday morning. It's quite a well balanced life because I've got the week to myself, and then I can go and see her at the weekend. It's quite a nice sort of way to live. Well, um, as long as you can avoid mishaps. So what happened was this: she's got a house. If you can just stay with me, it's going to be worth listening to. She's got a house. I've got a flat. She's got a house. Okay. So, I mean, I don't go to her specifically because she's got a house. I mean, I'd be quite happy to have her around here, but she prefers me to go to her place. Simple as that. So I go in my car, and she's got a large drive, and she's got a house which essentially she parks in front of. And I usually park my car in her drive, but leaving her enough room to reverse out. Yeah, I bet you can already imagine what I'm going to talk about. I've drawn a diagram here. I don't know whether you can see that. Now, that arrow, there's her house. That arrow is showing the route that she's got to take to get her car onto the road. As you can see, my car is parked behind her. It's parked about 15 meters behind. There's plenty of room there for her to reverse around. And she's done it dozens of times without any problems whatsoever. In fact, she doesn't even have to do that. She could reverse her car towards the other house and then come out bonnet first. But for some reason, she likes to reverse out. She does it confidently, and she's always got out without any problems at all. And until Saturday, it had never really occurred to me that this was an accident waiting to happen. Okay? Right. Here's what happened. You're going to enjoy this. You're really going to enjoy it. So I went to her on Friday night, last Friday night. In the morning when I woke up, now I knew that she was going out for the day and that she was going to leave me behind in her house. I knew she was going out in the morning, and we had breakfast. She went to her car in the morning. She got into her car, and I opened the passenger door just to say goodbye to her. And I did a kind of silly thing. Well, I don't think it's that silly. I was trying to be funny. She had a doll on the passenger seat. It's quite a big doll, and it's a doll that had been donated to her by somebody, and she wanted to give it to her daughter. Well, this doll is a female doll, and it's quite strange actually because it's got a sort of scary expression on its face, and it suddenly reminded me of Chucky. Do you remember Chucky? Isn't a Stephen King character, Chucky the doll, from is it a film Child's Play or something like that? And I did a bit of a dumb thing. I picked up that doll and I started imitating it, and I played a bit of a joke with that doll. And she kind of laughed and found that funny. And I took the doll. I said, "Oh, do you want me to put this in the house?" She said, "Okay, then." So I took the doll. I took the doll. I said goodbye to her, gave her a kiss on the cheek. I said, "Have a nice day." And then I closed the door. I walked towards the house. I turned around just to wave to her one last time. To my horror, to my absolute horror, I had precisely about half a second to see that she was reversing the car directly into the path of my car, and that she wasn't taking the normal route around it. And I tried to shout to her, "Watch out," but it was too late, and she basically crashed into my car. She reversed straight into the back of she reversed into my car such that she smashed one of my headlamps and caused significant damage to the bonnet and the side of the car. Obviously, I went straight to her, and um, Well, I mean, what do you say in that situation? I just said to her, "Look," I said, "Look, um, don't worry about it. I'll sort it out. Go off and enjoy the day. We'll deal with it later." I mean, what else could I say? I said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "It's only, it's only a material thing. It can happen to anybody." I said, "But drive carefully. Be careful." And she said sorry and everything, and she looked shocked. She reversed out properly, and then off she went. I looked at the damage. I thought, "Oh my god, you know, um, that is going to cost that is going to cost some money to put right." Now, the remarkable thing is that only that morning, only that morning, I actually imagined this happening. I don't know why I imagined it, but I actually visualized in the morning. I actually visualized her reversing into my car. Unfortunately, when I was saying goodbye to her with the stupidity of the prank I was playing with that doll, I'd forgotten all about that. That earlier in the morning, I had this kind of thought that this could happen. At the time when I had the thought, I just dismissed it as, she would never do that. She would never ever do that, because I don't know. I mean, when people reverse, you expect them to look over their shoulders at what they're reversing into. I mean, she's been driving for 25, 30 years, and one just never expects anything like that to happen. So it didn't occur to me when I was thinking about that to say, hey, by the way, when you reverse, make sure you reverse around my car. Don't reverse into it. So yeah, off she went. Later in the day when she came back, we kind of talked about it, and I said, "Oh, what happened?" And she said to me that, well, she just said to me that she was feeling really happy. She was going to see her friends. She'd had a pleasant evening with me. And she said that she just reversed and didn't look over her shoulder to see what was behind her. And I found that absolutely astonishing. I said, "Look, thank goodness you reversed into my car and not a human being, because if there'd been a human being, if a postman had been coming or something like that," I said, "Look, a car can be repaired, but, so let this be a warning that please, in future, never do anything like that again. And okay, maybe the prank that I played with the doll kind of distracted her, but uh, I mean, at the end of the day, there can be no excuses for not looking over your shoulder when you're reversing. And if you're of such a state of mind, or if you're such a person that a bit of a prank before you go off for a drive could result in a serious accident, then frankly, you shouldn't be driving. I didn't say that to her, but I just said, please be careful, be careful in future, because I was quite straight with her. I said, look, um, when she reverses out of that drive, normally speaking, she reverses a lot faster than I think that she should do. She reverses at speed out of that drive, and that's one of the reasons she caused so much damage to my car. Because I mean, my mother, who's 82 years old, I was with her a few months ago, and I was concerned about her as a driver. She reversed. She reversed. She tiptoes when she reverses. She's going so slowly and checking so cautiously. She's actually, a very careful driver. And that's how I sort of reverse as well. But my girlfriend shoots out of the drive. I said, look, you've got to take it easy. And yeah, so you can see what happened there. Now I kind of blame myself. Do you think I'm ever going to park there again? No. Prevention's better than cure. And okay, that proverb about a prudent man foresees evil. Okay, I have to admit there I wasn't prudent. I've been a fool parking there all this time, relying on her skill to reverse around me. It was an accident kind of waiting to happen. So, I mean, I can't fully blame myself because I still think that the obligation is on the person who's doing the maneuvering of the vehicle to go around obstacles. And I think that it wasn't such a difficult thing to do. So, yeah, So okay, so what about this? Somebody will say, "Oh, well, that's like a premonition," because yeah, this had never occurred to me before, and on the very day that it happened, it occurred to me in the morning. What is that? Okay, I would say it was just a coincidence that I happened to think about the danger on the day that it happened. I think about lots of things all the time, and I just happened to be thinking about that in the morning, and it happened. Another similar kind of um, time when this has happened, where I've thought about something, and then later in the day, it's happened, is that about 10 years ago, when I was married, we'd planned to go out for the day and drive somewhere, and it had been raining a lot the previous night and the previous day, and there were flood warnings in place. And on the previous night, I'd actually had a dream that I was in my car on a road and I encountered a flooded part of the road, and that I'd tried to go through it and the car had sunk. Okay. Well, the next day when we went out for the day and we were driving on a country road, we actually came across a flooded part of the road, right? I'd had the warning in the dream, if you like, that the car was going to sink, but I also had a very impatient wife sitting next to me. And the only way to get to the destination without going through that water was to spend an hour going around on another route. She was looking very impatient, and against my better judgment, I actually drove through that water despite having that dream. Now, as it happened, we made it through. Okay, we made it through. But um, I mean, I'm now divorced, by the way, and I needn't say anything more about that. If you're in a marriage and you're sitting next to somebody and you've got a flood in front of you and you feel like you're under pressure to get somewhere and you're prepared to take that kind of risk, then, you know, well, I'm divorced and it was my choice. So I'm no longer under those pressures to drive through flooded water when I'm out and around. I would, and in fact, I've done it with this lady that I'm with. We were out, we saw flood water, and I said, "There's no way I'm driving through that." I just turned around and we went somewhere else. So, okay, enough of that. No, they were not supernatural, paranormal premonitions. I don't believe that they were. I believe it was just pure coincidence. And in any case, if if that was a warning that I had about my girlfriend reversing into my car, I had that warning and I didn't do anything about it. Well, I mean, what was the point in it? So, okay, yeah. Well, I took my car for a quotation today, and it is costing quite a bit of money to repair, and I'm not doing it on her insurance. What's the point in that? You guys know how insurance works. You pay insurance for years and years, and you never use it. And then when you have an accident or something, first you've got an excess to pay of several £100s, and then whatever they pay to have the damage repaired, they simply add it to your next premium and they get it back that way. So what's the point? So, I mean, obviously, if it was anybody else, of course, I would do it on their insurance. It was their fault. It was her fault. But um, I'm going to foot the bill. I'm not doing it on her insurance. I mean, no, I'll, I'm paying for it myself. I just put it down to the cost in a way of having a girlfriend. I mean, I mean, I put more money into the relationship than she does, and that's just another cost of being with somebody. That's all there is to it. Okay, let me just have a look at some of your comments. So this is kind of related to my atheist channel and everything and skepticism, because I had what a lot of people would call a premonition. I've told a sort of amusing story of misfortune about it, and yeah, let's have a look. I'll just quickly look through your comments. Um, Lee Jam says, which one is your girlfriend? The one driving or the passenger? I'm not too sure what you mean there. Um, I mean, I normally drive my girlfriend around. I don't let her drive me. She has done on one or two occasions, just short local journeys, but if we go anywhere, any distance, I always do the driving. I won't have her driving me around. I mean, one of the stupid things that she does is that when her daughter is on the back seat, and what I've seen her do and absolutely scares the life out of me, is that when she's driving, if she's having a conversation with her daughter, she will actually turn her head around and look away from the road to get eye contact with the daughter. And I've said to her, "You're not going to last long in this world if you do that." I said, "There's no need to get eye contact with your daughter if you're having a conversation with her. She can hear you. She doesn't need to get eye contact with you and have you take your eyes off the road and then get into a fatal accident and all of you are going to die." I said, "You're going to have. I'm not going to have you driving me around if you're going to do that because I value my own life too much." So, yeah, um, I don't know. I'm not happy. But you know something. Maybe I've been unlucky, but um, I mean, well, I won't say anything more about that, but I just think that I'm a good driver. I'm a very careful driver, but I've known a lot of people in my life who are not good careful drivers. I don't know what else to say. And if they've not had accidents so far, it's just pure luck that they haven't done. Okay, so let me have a look. Oh, I see. The doll. Sorry, I didn't get that. Yeah. um, let's have a look. Metal Lady says, "My mum does that same thing. Perfectly fine to keep watching the road while speaking loudly." But yeah, I can't understand the stupidity. If I see her doing that again, I'm going to insist that she stops the car and lets me out because I value my life too much to, to tolerate somebody, even my own girlfriend, putting my life in danger like that. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why people are in such a hurry to get places. I mean, I had this when I was married with my ex-wife, pushing me along all the time. Come on, we'll never get there. We'll never get there. Speed up, speed up. And I mean, to be honest with you, with the woman that I'm with at the moment, um, you know, we're going somewhere. I'm on a road that the speed limit is 60 miles an hour. It's a windy road. I'm driving along at about 45. And she's saying, "What's the speed limit here?" I say, "Well, it's 60." She says, "Well, we'll never get there." What's the big hurry? What's the big hurry on the road? Um, I almost feel like ending the relationship over it. If she, I need to have a conversation with her about this because, especially with her crashing into my car now, I'm not happy with. That's one thing I'm not happy with in the relationship. That I don't consider her to be a safe driver. And her being a passenger when I'm taking her places and she's wanting me to drive faster. I had that with my ex-wife. The difference with my ex-wife is that if I refused to drive faster, there would be repercussions. With her, if she asked me to drive faster, I don't reply. I just continue driving. There are no repercussions. She'll just sort of moan a bit, and that's all there is to it. It really annoys me that we live in a world where there are dangerous drivers and dangerous passengers. Frustrating. I would think people would value their lives more, and people would value the fact that I'm a safe, careful driver. People are going past me on country roads at 80 miles an hour, and this is being used as an example. That uh, he's doing that because you're not driving fast enough. So other people are putting their own lives in danger and the lives of other people. And this is being used as evidence against me that I'm not driving fast enough. Okay, I'm going to go on a real rant here. So, but yeah, so oh, I don't know. Let me move on. Let me move on from this. Okay, so let me just go through quickly some of the calls that I covered recently. So there was that call where somebody amazingly phoned in to say that the reason that Christianity is true is that, yeah, because Matt asked the question, yeah, because there are things in the Bible about how to behave and about, wise things in the Bible. and he said that um, the reason that he's better off than Matt is that the the sort of code of living in the Bible is more strict, more is forbidden than Matt's own moral code. Now, when he said this, I was hoping Matt would say, "Give me an example," but he didn't. That really annoyed me. Usually, Matt is on the ball with that, and I would have said, as somebody said that to me, my moral code is better than yours because more is forbidden. I would say immediately, such as what? Give me an example. Matt didn't say that, but he did later on. They went through about 5, 6, 7 minutes, and they came back to this thing. And Matt said, "Okay, what is it in your moral code that gives you more than I've got? Be specific. Give me an example." And out of everything that this guy could have said, he came up with Proverbs. Proverbs 27, verse 12. A prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself. The simple man pass on and are punished. And Matt quite rightly said, well, I mean, that all that means effectively is just that the wise man can foresee danger coming and he takes precautions, and the foolish man doesn't. And he said, do you think that even in early times, well before Christianity, well before the Bible was written, if you go back to the times of Neanderthals and early hominids, etc., do you not think that even in those times people took precautions and could foresee dangers? So I don't know, if a Neanderthal was walking in the jungle, he'd be looking out for tigers, he'd be looking out for dangerous animals, and he'd be trying to avoid them. Do you not think that was the case? That it's such a blindingly obvious thing to do, is to look out for danger, that it doesn't really need any holy book to tell us this. It's just something that if people didn't do, then there wouldn't be human beings, because uh, people wouldn't have taken precautions. They'd just be walking over cliffs without looking to see if there's a drop. So I'm just amused that out of everything that he could have picked out of the Bible, he picked that out. And I don't really think that it's such a I don't really think it's so impressive. I think maybe there was some of the things that Jesus said that, maybe he could have used, but he went to that one. And I just don't think it was impressive at all. I don't think it follows that, especially as he's pulling this out of the Old Testament, which the Jews could turn around and say, well, Judaism's true because it's got this in it. It's just such a weak, such a weak case, such a weak argument, and didn't really work at all. So anyway, yeah, I covered that call. And then there was another really amusing one where somebody called in saying, oh, I'm an atheist and I've got cognitive dissonance because sometimes I believe in God, other times I don't. Matt said, okay, give me an example of when you believe in God. And he said, well, I believe in God when there's air turbulence on an aeroplane. Oh. I mean, I can kind of relate to that because I don't like flying. And when you're on an airplane and you encounter turbulence, you think, oh my God, is this the end? Is this is the next moment, or how can the wings stay on when there's so much turbulence? You think like that. But I've never in that situation prayed to God. And even when there was a fly around, the scariest one ever for me was when the plane was literally 20 meters from touching the tarmac, and he suddenly did a fly around, and it made me, it sort of made me sweat a bit because I wondered why he was doing a fly around. Then I heard the engines powering and I felt the airplane going, and apparently he was too close to another airplane who was landing, and he decided to do a fly around. But when we landed, when we landed, several people in that airplane crossed themselves. And, I didn't say a prayer, obviously, because I don't believe in God. There was nobody to pray to. But this caller says that, and his name's Giddy, by the way. I've actually uploaded a video because I've reacted to this one. I've actually uploaded it. and it's live, so you can go and listen to it. Oddly enough, this guy's name is Giddy, and I did a bit of wordplay on this, and I said that, you know, when Giddy believes in God when he gets giddy, when there's turbulence on an aeroplane. So that's the cognitive dissonance that he's got, I suppose, that his rational mind tells him that there's not sufficient evidence to believe in a God. But when he needs a God, or when he experiences fear, the cognitive dissonance is there because the emotions are wrestling with the reason and rational way of looking at things. That's the cognitive dissonance. And he called in to ask Matt, and I think it was Shannon, or was it Shannon? No, it wasn't Shannon. Another, who was it? It doesn't matter. But he called in to ask about cognitive dissonance. He wanted educating on cognitive dissonance, which I thought was a bizarre reason to call in. Really strange. And I think Matt referred him to the website or to the channel Recovering from Religion. So off he went. But yeah, I can relate to what he's saying, because I suppose in that situation, you might play a bit of a Pascal's wager. And, you know, if you think that maybe you're going to die otherwise, one last throw of the die. But on the other hand, if you've not believed all your life and there really is a God, and you reach out to him when you really need him, what's this God going to do? Is God going to say, well, you can't really do that. You can't deny me the whole of your life, and then when you really need me, reach out to me. That's not how it works. That's not true belief. So no, I'm sorry. Because of you in particular, because of your false belief, I'm afraid everybody on that airplane is going to have to die. And just because of you, just because you didn't believe in me when you could have done, and you waited till you really need me, that child sitting next to you, and that mother with her two children over there, and all the people on this airplane, the pilot and the staff, are going to have to die, and all because you didn't believe in me when you had a chance. And you're coming to me now with this cynical, false belief, reaching out to me with this Pascal's wager bullshit when you don't really believe at all. No, I'm sorry, that's not going to wash. And for that reason, no, this aeroplane would have made it to the ground, but because you're on it and you've come to me with this false belief and you're reaching out, I'm sorry, but everybody's going to have to die, and that's the way it is. So you won't see much of me when you're dead, because you'll be going straight to hell. So tough. Yeah. So okay. So I thought that was kind of amusing. Okay, let me see. There was one more. Let me see if I've got in my notes. No, that's it. I did make another video. I made 4 match videos last week in one day, and the fourth one I haven't yet uploaded, and I've forgotten what it is, but I will upload it shortly. Okay, let's have a look at your comments. Daniel says, thankfully you can deny God all your life and accept him at the end. Well, yeah, maybe, but if you're only accepting God because because you're afraid you're going to die, you're afraid the plane is going to crash, maybe not. I don't know. Okay. Okay, there's quite a bit of chat going on, but a lot of it is not really related to what I'm talking about. So that's fair enough. That's fine. Okay, let me move then to the video I watched, Alex O'Connor talking with, I can't remember, one or two others on the meaning of life, and this point that this assumption on the behalf of philosophers, atheists, online activists, Christians, theists, and all sorts of people, that somehow, because there are more non-religious people than ever before, or because or for some reason there's a big gaping hole and that people are desperately flailing around trying to fill some kind of need for meaning in their lives. There's a presumption that this is the case. I wouldn't make that presumption myself. Just because there are more non-religious people than ever before, it doesn't necessarily follow that there's this need, there's this growing need for meaning and purpose. I'd like to see what the evidence for that is. So, speaking for myself, I've got no religion in my life, and I don't feel I don't feel the need to have some kind of, I don't know, some kind of purpose or sort of goal in my life, or either divine purpose or transcendental purpose. I don't even really feel the need to have mundane earthly purposes. So people need goals, and a lot of people have goals. At the moment in my life, I don't feel like I've got any goals. And in a way, my only purpose in life, I suppose, is is what? Is to keep breathing and living. Beyond that, I don't really think that I've got any purpose in life as such. If anything, I could probably say that my purpose in life is just simply to continue living as a human being and just to continue living the human experience. And that's unavoidable. You can't be a human being and not live the human experience, however you live it. Whether you live your life in lies, whether you live your life in truth, whether you live your life in pain or in pleasure, in doubt or in knowledge, whether you live your life with zero purpose, whether you live your life sitting in a dark room, wondering what to do. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You can't escape you can't escape the human experience. Whatever you're doing as a human being, you're living the human experience. Uh, that's unavoidable. So my purpose in life is just to keep living and breathing, and that's all really. I don't really feel like I've got any purpose beyond that, not even with the channel that I'm doing or anything like that. It doesn't mean to say that I don't think that I do useful things in life. I think I do useful things in life. I think I bring value to people's lives, either on this channel or in my own personal life with my family. But that doesn't mean to say that I think that I've got any purpose in life. It's just incidental that I bring value to people's lives. I don't bring value to everybody's lives. To some people, I'm an irritant on this channel. I'm an irritant to um, theists and atheists alike. I've got some atheists that don't like the way I do things, and I've got theists that don't like. So I'm an irritant to some people. Um, there may be people out there on the street who see me every day who don't like my face. I'm an irritant to them. So I bring value to people's lives. I also probably degrade the value in people's lives because that's unavoidable. So that's it, really. That would be my only purpose in life, just to keep living and breathing, whatever that entails. So I personally don't feel any uh, lack of purpose in my life, but that doesn't mean to say that there are not people out there who do feel a lack of purpose, and I recognize that. I've met some of them. I used to go to a group of men who would sit around in a circle, and a lot of them would talk about lack of purpose in their lives. I mean, I went to that group primarily because I moved into this area, and you know, I don't know. I just fancied having one evening a week and sitting around and talking with some people. I no longer haven't seen them for 6 months or more. I stopped going there because I've got other things going on in my life. That's all. But I've listened to people who feel that they've got lack of purpose in their lives, whether becoming involved in a religion would help them. I don't know. From what I could gather, those people were predominantly not involved in religions. but they had other issues. They had various issues, struggle socializing, confidence issues, etc., etc. So so anyway, yeah, just coming back to this thing, I don't necessarily think that because religion is kind of being chosen by less people, there are fewer religious people, at least in the West, the Western world. Forget about the third world; it's on the increase there. But in the Western world, there are fewer religious people, but it doesn't necessarily follow that people are getting desperate for meaning because they've lost touch with religion. I'm not too sure if that's the case, but it may be the case for some. So this whole conversation was predicated on the assumption that there is an increase in people feeling desperate for lack of meaning. And that's the way the conversation went. Alex was saying that, yeah, he agrees that there is this position, there is this phenomena in the world where people are looking for meaning. He didn't really back that up with any empirical evidence as such. He just presumed that it's true. And he said that there are solutions and there are places you can go, but they're not propositional places. In other words, you won't find answers in religion where there are propositions which have got to be accepted as true in order to find meaning. And for example, one of the propositions would be a God exists, this God loves you, this God sent his son to save you from your sins and be salvation. So there are a set of propositions there on which meaning is predicated. So Alex was saying that he did not think that this was the way to go. I would say to Alex about that, if I was in that conversation, that no, for you personally, Alex, you wouldn't go there because obviously you're an atheist and you found that that doesn't work for you. But I'm not denying that religion can be useful for people in terms of giving them meaning in life and purpose. And it could be a place to go for people. If they're feeling a lack of meaning in life, they might well find meaning in the church community, in communities, and even in the belief system. But that doesn't make those belief systems true. I've said before, religions can be very useful. So I think there were some issues there with that conversation that went on. And I think that I'm not really sure whether Alex acknowledged that religion can give people meaning. He's really just saying that for him, he didn't think it was a good place to look. But I would say that's not necessarily the case. And my whole issue with religion is not whether it's useful and not whether it can give you purpose. Somebody could find I don't know, an amazing diamond on a beach or somewhere and pick it up and say this is going to give me purpose now for the rest of my life. It's such a special stone. Finally, I've got found something so special in my life. This is going to give me purpose. It doesn't mean to say there's anything magical about the stone, but somebody could imagine that there is something magical about this stone that they found. So, like a kind of placebo, doesn't necessarily mean the religion's true, but if you imagine that there's a God and that God's got a plan for you, and you convince yourself or you're convinced that this is true, there's your purpose. There's your purpose for you, all lined up, all settled. So, okay, well, that's all I've got to say about that. It doesn't last long, actually, on Alex's channel. It's only like 35, 40 minutes long. You might want to go and have a listen to that. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, I've had comments, of course, on my channel. Every week, there are people who will, just because I'm a YouTuber, um, theists will try to engage me personally in a back and forth exchange on my YouTube channel. On the whole, I tend not to get involved in these exchanges because, you can go on forever going backwards and forwards, and I've not really found it terribly constructive. But what I will do, excuse me, What I will do, if somebody wants to present a case, I will post it on my community board and invite others to look through their arguments, and then they can debate with my subscribers. I've got several really sharp subscribers who are very knowledgeable in philosophy and, very knowledgeable in apologetics, counter apologetics. And of course, I could deal with all these things myself. I just haven't got the time. I run a business full time and I run this channel. I make videos. I haven't got the time to go backwards and forwards with theists on these issues. I just haven't. So I will put somebody's case out to the community, and I will sometimes go and look to see how things are unfolding. So I've had a few challenges recently. I've had somebody saying in response to Matt rejecting theist claims based on faith that Matt is making assumptions about what evidence is. And Matt's assumptions about what evidence is are basically wrong. He hasn't got a clue. And this person who left this comment seems to be implying that Matt's epistemology is broken. That's funny, isn't it? I mean, look, I don't buy this nonsense. People make epistemology more complex than is necessary. We all appeal to a very similar epistemology in our everyday lives. We just do. If we didn't, we'd all be dead, because when we go out and cross the road, we use our senses. We assess the evidence. We assess the risk factor about whether we're going to cross the road or not. Are there cars coming? Yes. There's your evidence. Is it safe to cross the road? No. Based on what we know about physics and what happens when a car hits a human body, no. I mean, everybody's epistemology is going to be the same for crossing the road, I hope. And the same goes for virtually every other kind of mundane claim there is. So if you go into a secondhand shop to buy, shall we say, I don't know, a blender, and it's got no guarantee, you'll want evidence that it's working. Yeah. Can you plug it in to see that it's working? I mean, that's an example of epistemology at work in the real world. We want evidence for the claim that the blender works. It's worth spending the money on. There's no guarantee. Okay, at least if I can see it working, I've got evidence that it's worth paying the money for it. I wouldn't take it without that evidence. So we've all got very similar epistemology, and the same goes really. There's no reason why that epistemology, which we use to negotiate our way around the world successfully and avoiding hazards and benefiting ourselves, should not be at use when it comes to assessing other types of claims, remarkable claims about the nature of the universe, the nature of reality, and the existence of, shall we say, gods, etc. So when somebody says Matt's epistemology, he's making assumptions about what kind of evidence. Now, in this particular call, somebody phoned in and said, well, Matt said, what's your evidence? And the person said, my faith is my evidence. It's the evidence of things unseen. And Matt said, well, no, that doesn't count as evidence. Okay, well, I mean, you can say that anything is evidence. I've been on about this before. Anything can be any evidence for any claim, but that doesn't mean that it's sufficient evidence. So it might be sufficient evidence for the Christian, the faith might be sufficient evidence for the Christian, but you'd be within your rights to say, well, that's not evidence enough for me. That's not. And you could even say, I don't even see how it could be good enough evidence for you, that you've got faith, but you've got nothing really beyond that, not really much beyond that anyway. So Yeah, so this person left this, and then he left a wall of text about his epistemology, and what it amounted to was we can't have knowledge because certainty is impossible, and if there's no certainty, then effectively, um, you as an atheist can't start criticizing. You can't call into question evidence cited by theists for their claim that a God exists because you've got certainty about nothing anyway. Well, that's like saying that you can't determine from the evidence of your own eyes that cars are coming on the road before crossing it. You can't, because you can't be 100% certain in that, then um, anything goes. Any claim, virtually any claim could be accepted or not accepted. So something is either perfect knowledge or it's not. And if it's not, then you as an atheist can't complain about theists making these claims. You can't claim that your epistemology is any better than theirs, even if they say that it's just faith-based. And I think this position doesn't really make any sense. I'm not a hard solipsist, and I think that everything is on a scale of confidence below absolute certainty. I agree that you can't really have absolute certainty, but um, not as this person suggested that it's either perfect knowledge or everything is guesswork and it's blurry. That's absolute nonsense. Um, it's not guesswork and blurry when you're standing on the edge of a busy road and there's oncoming traffic. It's not guesswork. You can see the cars coming. You've got very strong evidence that cars are coming. You've got evidence by induction what happens when you walk onto a busy road. If a car's going to hit you, it's either going to kill you or cause you serious damage. That's not guesswork. It's not blurry knowledge. It's evidence to a very, very high standard, even if it's not certain. So now the thing about this is that he'd said that he was a convinced theist. So naturally, I wanted to know from somebody who denied that, who says that if you haven't got perfect knowledge, everything's just guesswork and it's blurry. I wanted to know, well, by what means were you convinced that you're a theist? I wanted to know that. Do you think I got a reply? No, I got absolutely nothing back. I got absolutely nothing. He was prepared to come on, and I've had this before. Theists will come on and say, "Oh, you atheists, you think you've got the correct epistemology, and nothing's certain. Nobody can know anything for certain, and it's all based on you've you've got all your own assumptions about how the world works, and yet you're demanding these standards from theists, and you can't even prove your own claims." I've heard this time and time again. Just because we can't have absolute certainty, it doesn't mean to say that all claims are equally either valid or invalid. We have to have, we have to presume that reality is real, that we're not the only consciousness in existence. We have to presume that. If we presume that everything was a dream, then we wouldn't last long because we could put that to the test by walking in front of a car on the road. So yeah, when I asked, well, what do you believe then? If you're claiming my epistemology is broken, I will accept any evidence. I will accept all evidence for your claim that God exists. There is nothing I will not accept and consider as evidence. So rather than claiming that my epistemology is broken because I'm making assumptions, let's get down to the nitty gritty and put that to the test and tell me what your evidence is. I will consider intuition. I will consider faith. I will consider holy books. I will consider personal experience. I will consider all of those things. It doesn't mean to say, depending on how the evidence is presented, that I will accept any of those as sufficient evidence to convince me that a God exists, but I will at least look at them if you put them on the table. But if you're just going to say, oh, your epistemology is broken, you stupid atheist, you can't prove anything you say, and then you're going to run away when I challenge you and say, well, why do you believe? If you're going to run away and not present your case, then you're just a coward. All you're doing is hopping from channel to channel and effectively just thumbing your nose at atheists, and then just running away. It doesn't matter how broken my epistemology is. You've still got some way to go to prove that a God exists. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look at some of your comments. Uh, uh, okay, multi-purpose weirdo says, if this is the conversation, I was interested in it. Why did it get muted? Did the guy? No. Well, okay. So, why did I mute him? Okay, I'll tell you why. Okay, so here's what I did with this particular theist. I put his. I put his. He produced a lot of text. I put it out to the community, and he got some really good, high quality replies. The reason I muted him is that he would not engage with people who were going to a lot of trouble to read his points and critique it. He was not responding to anybody except for me. And I said to him that if you don't respond to these people who've gone to trouble over what you've written, then you're going to be muted on this channel because you're not serious. And he would not engage with anybody else. So, uh, and I thought that he was being dishonest in the way that he was presenting his case. I muted him. He circumvented that by creating a new account, and he left some more comments accusing me of misrepresenting his position, etc. And I then said, okay, well, maybe I misrepresented you, maybe I didn't, but you've said you're a theist. Why? I will accept any evidence you're prepared to offer. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. You've got high standards. You've said knowledge is not certain, yet you believe in a God. I want to know why. No reply, crickets, nothing. That was a week ago. I've had no response back, no reply at all. And you know why? You know why I think I can't prove it, but I think that his reason for believing in God is probably some personal experience, and he doesn't want to expose that to me because he knows what I'll say about it. Okay, so let's have a look. You don't need perfect knowledge, adequate knowledge. That's right. Yes, adequate knowledge is sufficient. And it's up to each person to decide where the bar is. So yeah, there is some subjectivity in it, and we need to discuss, you know, I mean, if I say I think your bar is too low, I need to talk and justify why I think your bar is too low. You can't make blanket statements. We have to discuss the evidence on a point by point basis. Yeah, well, I get this time and time again, multi-purpose weirdo. If your argument devolves to no one really knows anything, you've taken a wrong turn. Yeah, well, I've had it from New Age mystics as well. People saying, well, because when I've said, well, I don't really believe in New Age mysticism, I don't believe in tree hugging, and I don't believe in nature spirits and all these kind of things. And then she said to me, well, nobody really knows anything anyway, do they? I mean, life is but a dream. Well, actually, um, prove it. You're making a claim there. Life is but a dream. Prove it. What do you mean by that? And yeah, I've been through this with not just Christians, but New Age mystics, all sorts of people. When they've got these beliefs which they can't really provide evidence for, it's just a feeling, it's just intuition. Then they go to, well, life's just but a dream. No, it's not. As far as I can see, I can't prove that life isn't a dream, but I've got no good reason to believe that life is a dream. Okay. Let me just have a quick look at your comments. Yeah, yeah, the replies. Actually, I'm not sure whether I deleted what I think I possibly left I think I possibly left it out there. I'll have to have a look. Yeah, that's the point. If I muted him, I might have I think I left some of the replies out there. I know that Grumpy Librarian wrote a very, very good response to him, and I've left that out there because he didn't post it on that thread. He posted it on another thread, and he probably left the best reply. Um, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, Walker 3, yeah. Look, I said to him, I've I've actually left it. I've actually left it out there because I made a video. In fact, I think it was on my live stream. Yeah, my last live stream that I did last week. If you go and look at it, you'll be able to see my response. He left a reply accusing me of lying and misrepresenting to him. I said, "Look, I've got an atheist channel, and in the context of what I do, I'm here to receive theist claims and to respond to them, or at least to put them out there for my subscribers to respond to. And it's not unreasonable for me if you're coming onto my channel saying that my epistemology is all wrong. And then if I want to know, if I want to see your epistemology in action, in other words, you're claiming a God exists, show me how your epistemology works, and then he won't say, then I don't really think it's really worth engaging with that person. I'll say why I don't believe in God. I'll say why I don't consider the evidence to be sufficient. And if people won't honestly engage with me and say, well, tell me why they believe in God. I mean, what's the point? That's what it's all about. Um, all right. I mean, by and large, people will say why they believe. Or at least if he said to me, well, I believe in God, but I don't want to tell you, I would have accepted that. I would have said, okay, well, that's fine. Then I suppose the conversation's over. All right, let me see. Where am I with this? Where am I? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry. There was a call last week that came in. Oh, no. Sorry. I've got this, haven't I? Printed it out. Okay, yeah. So I do probably once a week at least, somebody will say that they want to debate with me in particular, and present evidence and go backwards and forwards with me. And I don't do that because, for various reasons, but I've printed out a conversation, an exchange that I've had with somebody. So about 10 months ago, somebody by the name of Ryan called in and he spoke to Matt, and his claim, he's a Mormon, and his claim that the Book of Mormon is true, or at least the Book of Mormon proves that there's a God who loves us, because Joseph Smith wrote that a particular American tribe from hundreds of years ago used cement, and that he could not possibly have known this unless there's really a God who loves us. Yeah, that's his argument. Okay, I'm going to read out the exchange. So he eventually found my video. This is 10 months ago and he's only just found it. Goodness knows what he's doing. It looks to me like this is his party piece. This is the big purpose of his life with this cement thing. And maybe he's scouring the entire internet looking for. He had his 15 minutes of fame with Matt, and this is his big point. So he's saying here, he found my video. He left a comment for me. I have endlessly more evidence to share, but wasn't able to present it. Can I do so on your show? This is Ryan. Okay. So he left that comment. Okay. So I replied, I don't do a call-in show, and I do not debate with people on YouTube, as I do not have the time. What I can do, though, is open a community thread for you to present your evidence. Then you can debate with people there. I have some quite serious regular posters on here who will provide feedback, etc., and you can discuss with them. So post some evidence here initially, then I will transfer it over to the community tab. Okay, so that was my reply. I think that's a generous offer. Look, I mean, I haven't got, obviously, I haven't got time to go backwards and forwards with somebody. You know that these things can go on forever, especially with some people. You can go backwards and forwards forever on this kind of thing. Okay. And then even though you have correctly addressed all their points, they'll keep coming back and saying, "Oh, you're straw manning me." And, "Oh, that's full of assumptions." Oh, God. No, I haven't got time to go backwards and forwards with somebody like that. So then he says to me, "What about we just do a discussion? Evidence in comment threads doesn't give me a fair opportunity to address what you and Matt did by the video. We don't have to debate. We can just have a friendly discussion and you can push back whenever you want. I actually served my mission in England many years ago, so I'm used to speaking about this with the Brits." Okay, look, I would gladly do a discussion with this guy if he had his own channel with at least the same number of subscribers that I've got. As it is, he's got a channel with 6 subscribers and he's got no audience. If I'm going to spend time with somebody discussing something, um, then it's got to be worth my while. It's got to be worth my while for my channel. I've got to get some extra exposure. I won't debate people who have got no audience. So it's got to be on a level playing. It's got to be on a level playing field. It's got to be somebody. It, I will give something to people to another YouTuber. I will give my audience to another YouTuber in exchange for their audience. We've got to be equals. I won't do a live discussion with somebody that hasn't got an audience. Matt won't do that. And even though I'm nowhere near as famous as Matt, I won't do it either. So, no, I won't do that. So I replied, "I don't have time. If I debated and discussed with every poster who has evidence for God, I would never get anything done in my life." Well, that's true. I'll be here all the time. And there are some atheists who spend the whole day on YouTube um, doing this kind of thing. But I'm not one of them. I haven't got the time. And I always say that if I don't really feel like I'm missing anything, there are theists out there. There are numerologists. There are, there are people with all sorts of reasons why they believe in God. And if any of them were remotely impressive, uh, in a way, we would all know about it, wouldn't we? If they would pass the peer review test, win a Nobel Prize, they've proven that God exists. And I'm fairly confident that I haven't really missed anything much out there in the way of apologetics and evidence. I think that anybody with any quality evidence is not really going to come to me. They're going to go to Matt, which is what this guy did, although he hasn't got quality evidence. He went to Matt. Matt correctly exposed the weakness of his position and sent him packing. Okay, so he replied to me because I said, "Well, I won't debate. I get people all the time offering evidence." And he says, "I'm the only one to contact you like this. So don't make straw man arguments." Now, this is what I get with theists. They can't present any convincing evidence. And I don't know. I mean, it might be that they've mentioned something in a point and I get it wrong. I mean, let's just say they said, "Oh, I was eating chocolate ice cream last week, and I was discussing with somebody, and I convinced him that God exists." And I replied the next week, and I said to this person, "Oh, what was it that you said? You said that you were sitting with a strawberry ice cream, and you were talking to somebody about, your argument for the existence of God." He would get back and say, "Don't strawman me. It wasn't strawberry ice cream. It was chocolate ice cream. You atheist, you never get anything right. You can't possibly assess evidence. You strawman me. I'm going away. I'm not going to discuss anybody because you're not serious. You can't even get the details right." So on something that's completely inconsequential, um, say, "Oh, you're strawmanning me." No, I'm not strawmanning anybody in this case. How am I strawmanning him? He's come to me saying he's got evidence and he wants to discuss with me and he wants to debate with me. And I've had others saying exactly the same thing. And he says, "I'm the only one to contact you like this." How does he know that? I've got hundreds of videos out there. Has he been to every single video and looked through the comments on every single one? Anyway, then he says, if you'd rather rest on your mischaracterization of my position rather than address my actual position, at least admit it. Okay, so I replied, how do you know you are the only one to contact me like this? Do you scour my comments on all my videos? Where is your evidence for that claim? Every week, I either get emails from theists who want to present their arguments or comments on my channels, asking to discuss the existence of God with me. I would have no reason for prioritizing you above them and keep to my rule. The fact you are a Mormon, if anything, means you are even less credible than they are. I made a good offer to platform your evidence, so either take it or please go elsewhere, or better still, make some videos and get an audience. Okay? Then he replies back and says, your entire platform is to partially crib videos from Matt Dillahunty and then pile on and agree with him. Well, no, I admit that I use Matt I use Matt a lot as material because let's face it, he's, you know, he's good material to use and he's the most popular counter apologist out there. And yeah, my videos get more views than any others. I'd be a stupid YouTuber not to use the best quality material, wouldn't I? Yeah. But my aim is not to agree with him. My aim is to comment on how he's doing. Sometimes I don't agree with him. Like I said earlier in this video, I thought that he could have asked that um, I thought he could have asked that Christian much earlier. What is it about you being a Christian that gives you more than I've got? He could have asked that 5, 6 minutes earlier. He didn't. He asked it later. So that's one of the things that I do with my videos. I try to add a bit of criticism. But yeah, by and large, I agree with what Matt is saying on the whole, because he happens to be right about a lot of things. Okay, then he says, as such, I'm certain very few, if any, of Matt's callers ever contact you in the manner I am. Well, that's not true. I get plenty of butthurt Christians and theists who've been kicked off the line and sent packing and screaming by Matt who come to my channel for a second bite at the cherry. Believe me, I get them quite often doing that. So he says, I've scoured the comments and not seen any such comments. So prove me wrong. Show me where you're being inundated by requests like mine, where you openly have attacked my specific position and argument, and they ask for a chance to have a discussion about it on your channel. Well, I mean, now he's setting up. What I'm saying is that I've got theists who want to debate with me and discuss with me. I'm not saying that I've had an actual Mormon come to me who's presented that exact same argument to Matt. And so he's narrowing the goalpost now. You see what he's doing. This is dishonesty. Show us all you're not scared. Yeah, well, I get this a lot. Blah blah blah. Okay, so then I wasn't going to bother responding to that, but it just so happened that I've got examples of theists who've actually come to me, and I presented that. I presented him with 2 links, both to videos where theists had challenged me and said they want to debate with me in particular. They didn't agree with my position on certain things. And let's just see what I said. Okay, yeah. So here's my final reply. Yeah, okay. I decided to watch his call, by the way, from 10 months ago. Yeah. So I decided to watch it and I replied to him. Yeah, okay. So I provided him with two. I provided him with 2 examples. So I said, here is one example of someone who invited me to discuss. Check the pinned comment. The poster provided his argument to me and I put it on the community page where it was shot to pieces by my subscribers. There are many other examples. I find it amazing that you don't think an atheist YouTuber would have theists posting challenges on here for me to debate with them. It is not remarkable at all. You could not back up your claim, but I provided evidence for mine. You did not scour 100% of my comments on all of my videos. Had you done so, you would not have made this claim. So that is you proven wrong. Now what? And then I provide another one. And then I've gone on to say, I watched your call with Matt, and frankly, your position is easy to understand. Civilizations have been using various materials to bind stones and bricks together across the world for thousands of years, and this was well known before Smith wrote the Book of Mormon. This is your claim that he could not have known info relating to this, and that therefore the claim there is a God who loves us is true. It does not take a genius to understand that ancient peoples were using a cement-like material, and I don't find this impressive at all. I mean, it's stupid. Um, I mean, archaeologists have been finding, obviously going back thousands of years, how people were making dwellings by binding stones together using a makeshift sort of generic kind of cement. This is crazy that he didn't think that he thinks that Joseph Smith in the 19th century had some sort of divine knowledge that this American tribe had this cement, and it's just madness. I don't find this impressive at all. I have Muslims telling me that in the Quran, God is described as the expander of the universe. It was not known in medieval times that the universe is expanding. So, by your logic, the claims of Islam are all true, right? Look, you obviously believe that Mormonism is the true form of Christianity. I suggest you go to Christian channels with your cement evidence and convince those Christians they have bought into the wrong denomination. You might do better, as you will be preaching to fellow gullibles. Yeah. Why do people like these Mormons? Why do they waste time on atheists? Why don't they go to people who disagree? Why don't they go to other Christians and convince those other Christians, look, Joseph Smith has got the latest in divine revelation. Your belief in the Jesus of the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church is false. Come over to Joseph Smith. Why do they waste time on atheists with these stupid claims, so-called anachronisms, etc.? Nothing. Once you start actually looking into this properly, skeptically, none of these claims actually stack up. Am I going to justify that claim one by one? No, I'm not. I'm not going to justify that at all because it doesn't need justifying. If the Book of Mormon was remotely impressive, we'd have scientists, we would have archaeologists all converting to Mormonism and saying, hallelujah, Joseph Smith couldn't possibly have known about that. It must be divine revelation. What a lot of nonsense. Okay, let me just see your comments. I'm going to be signing off shortly. Okay. All right. Buddha shows the way to nirvana. Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, that's a point, actually. The debate I listened to, not debate, but discussion that Alex had with somebody, can't remember his name, but he said that he's found meaning in Eastern religion, in Buddhism and Zen and various other things. So that's fair enough. People can find meaning in meditation if they want. That's fine. Okay. Why should I be more open to the Christianity? Okay. Okay, let me just have a quick look to see if I've missed anything out. I don't think so. I think I've more or less gone through everything. Yep, I think I have actually. All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to sign off now. And thanks for being with me. Thanks to all those who've participated in chat. And I'll be back next week at this time with another live stream. Hope I came through loud and clear with this microphone. And keep watching my channel. Bye for now. Good night.